You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we have a special guest joining us, Seth Bader, founder and owner of Bader Law in Atlanta, Georgia. And we'll get back to Seth in just a moment, but first a message from our partner, CallRail. How many high-value cases did you lose in the past year because your firm couldn't respond fast enough? 81% of law firms say slow response times cost them business, sometimes nearly a quarter of their annual revenue. That's why you need CallRail in 2026. It's going to be integrated into your case management system. CallRail is going to help you capture every call, even after hours, spot the high-value leads instantly, respond faster, and gain the insights you need to bring in bigger cases. Join over 3,000 law firms using CallRail to follow up faster, land bigger cases, and drive real growth. Start your free trial today. Hit us up, or we have a link in the bio. Now back to our guest. Seth, welcome in.
Thanks for having me, Benny.
Yeah. So the founder and owner of Bader Law in Atlanta, Georgia. Before launching his own law firm, Seth spent years representing employers, insurance companies, and workers' comp cases, experience that gave him an inside look into how insurers evaluate and defend claims. Eventually, he realized his true calling was fighting for injured individuals and workers, not corporations. You began your firm with just $5,000, a computer, and a grit that has grown into a respected Georgia-based PI and workers' comp practice. Seth, welcome to Lawyer Stories.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
For sure. So tell us from the early beginning. Let's start with your background. Like, where did you grow up and what initially drew you towards law?
Yes, so I grew up in Miami, Florida. I was there throughout my whole childhood until I left for college. And I think that was obviously a very formative time and a place for me that really contributed to the work that I ended up doing as a lawyer. What drew me to the law was just an opportunity to advocate and be a voice for people that needed help. I was told, growing up, my parents were always telling me I like to argue, I like to debate. So they kind of planted that seed relatively early on. And then I had some opportunities after high school, but before college, to do some work for some trial attorneys in South Florida, and got some exposure to see the impact that they made for the clients. And it was something that I was really drawn to and excited to get into myself.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have family members in the law or anything like that?
No, not really. My
Okay.
my father was a doctor, and he had very mixed feelings about lawyers, particularly trial
Yeah,
attorneys.
I bet.
But he also did some expert work for some trial
Okay.
attorneys. And so no, I don't personally have a family full of lawyers, or really anybody in the family that's a lawyer other than myself and now my brother. But I was drawn to it because I thought it was a great opportunity to use my skills and my passions to help people.
So, like, when did you know you wanted to be a trial lawyer? Like you said, that your parents said you wanted to argue when you were younger, you were good at arguing, that sort of thing. Like, when did it dawn upon you that law school was going to be your path?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was working for a trial firm, two trial attorneys in South Florida, right after high school, and I think it was really during that summer that I realized this is what I wanted to do. And obviously I didn't know exactly what path I would take. I didn't know anything about a volume practice versus a boutique. I didn't know anything about
Right.
marketing or business. But I did know that I had a passion to help people and to advocate and serve as a champion.
Yeah. So, what was your law school experience like at FSU when you went there? And
Yeah.
How did you like law school? I mean, were you just give us a little bit of background about it?
Ooh, what did I think about law school and what was my experience? It was very challenging for sure. Um, Obviously very very competitive. So it was a good experience. It's certainly, like I said, it was very very challenging, very rigorous, really demanding. But overall, it was a really good experience.
Okay. Did you have any mentors there? Did you meet anybody along the way that had an impact on you?
Not really at the school itself. I mean, there were professors that were more impactful than others. But I think the work that I did, I worked for a judge in South Florida one of the summers, and I thought he was very very impactful. Not so much in terms of trial work, but just to see the impact that lawyers can make and the impact judges can make. Just to kind of see the system from
Yeah.
the other side. I thought that was extremely impactful.
Do you remember your first job out of law school and like what that was like?
Yeah, I mean, I just celebrated my 50th birthday, so I'm getting up
Happy
there in age.
birthday.
But thank you. But I'm not that far removed. My memory is still sharp enough. Yeah. So I worked for a small insurance defense firm here in Atlanta,
Okay.
and I did general liability and workers' comp defense work, and so that was my first job out of law school.
Okay. Well, and like, what was that like doing that type of work? Were you billing hourly? Was that like an hourly rate biller and that sort of thing? Like, how
Yeah,
is
it was a billable hour type of practice, not something that I really get excited about. I don't understand how anybody does, but
yeah.
it was hard work. I was cutting my teeth. I was getting exposure. I didn't get the kind of training and mentorship that I would have liked in my first job. I felt like
Okay.
they were kind of getting exposed, to some potential risks. Nonetheless, it was a good experience. First, right out of law school, grateful for the opportunity, to have a job, and then again, I had an opportunity to see what I didn't want to do, but
Right.
but also but also to get some knowledge that I would take with me, later down the
Sure.
line.
So, like, at what point was it that you were like, "Hey, I want to represent the injured individuals"?
Yeah. So after that first job, I worked for a couple of other insurance defense firms,
Yep.
because starting your own firm is not the easiest thing to do,
Right.
especially when you don't have the capital or the knowledge to do that. And so, I spent a few more years working in the insurance defense world, and I knew fairly quickly that was not something that I was going to get passionate about, not something that was going to be, serve me for the rest of my career. But again, still very, very constructive and getting me some knowledge and information that I could take with me. I don't remember an exact date. I do remember around 2006, maybe 2007. I found myself literally just traveling around Atlanta trying to figure out, kind of dreaming, what would I do?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
would I start my practice? How would I get cases? I was doing a lot of networking, with others that were in the space, to learn, and I think that it was right around that time that I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. The only question is, how am I going to do it?
Mm.
And the short answer is there's not really a clear answer. You just kind of have to do it and
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I read somewhere like you were driving around and you had a good job like doing your defense work, and then how do
Mhm.
you decide to make that jump, that launch?
Well, I mean, in my case, the firm made the decision for me, right? So,
Right.
they let me go. It was really challenging because I was doing really good work. But I was just, I think, really misaligned philosophically. I was misaligned on work ethic. I was misaligned on what's important. I think in the insurance defense space, it's not that quality doesn't matter, but efficiency and just moving files seems to be much more important than actually doing really, really high quality work, which makes sense because there's not really a financial reward for the firm, for the lawyer, really, or even for the insurance company to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
necessarily maximize or minimize value. And I think that, as I was doing that kind of work, and I realized the responses I would get when I would save them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, I realized, like, this isn't financially rewarding for me. This is not like emotionally, psychologically
Yeah.
rewarding, because they don't even seem to get excited about it. It's sort of, as one of my mentors and bosses said at the time, as an insurance defense attorney, a closed file is a good file. It was never like a closed file where you save them a lot of money is a good file. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of closing, which is ironic because there's a lot of talk about plaintiff attorneys that are just churn and burn and just open and close files, when in fact the insurance companies, that's what they do. They just, I mean, of course they deny, they delay, but they really just want to get cases resolved as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And so you had, these requests from plaintiff attorneys. They want like policy limits or whatever it is. Like they want to try to push you guys, to give like max compensation, and you would end up saving money because you were doing a good job doing like efficient work, and there was just kind of like no reward. No, was it a little like thankless or something? Is that how?
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, certainly it was a thankless job. And again, it's good if I think if you want a 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
um, and you're efficient and you do decent work, then I guess it's not bad for folks that want that kind of life and lifestyle. But that was not very rewarding for me in any way, psychologically or financially.
Yeah, for sure. So Seth, like, how does the understanding of the insurance side? I mean, I think this is a huge point right here. Like, help you advocate for your clients today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if when you're on the other side, you really understand what the leverage points are. You understand how they assess a case,
Right.
and essentially, you can take that information on the other side as an attorney representing injured workers, representing victims of car accidents or of other types of products liability cases. You can use that to your client's advantage to develop the case, to create the evidence and find the right experts, and build the case up from a medical standpoint to really increase the value and optimize and maximize the value, and also to try to get the case resolved not only optimally but also as efficiently as possible.
Right. Right. So when you launched your firm, you didn't start with much, but 5,000 a computer and a lot of grit. So like what? So you said your old firm made the decision for you, but like what were those first like month, 3 months, years like in your firm, in your practice?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first year was a year of just really several years. It was long hours, like insanely long hours. I was up at 4:35 a.m. I was creating content for a now shut down blog because I didn't have enough money to pay for an SEO company,
Right.
to pay for writers, copywriters, and whatnot. And so I was essentially creating my own content, my own backlinks, and doing all that myself.
Yeah.
So I was up early doing what I could to generate business, and then I would work, throughout the day. I was fortunate enough, a friend of mine had overflow, so I was able to work on a bunch of his cases to generate revenue and income for myself, while I was trying to develop a business and develop, my own caseload. And so it was just a lot of very, very long hours. You didn't have, all of the resources that I think now exist for lawyers that are starting their own firms. I mean, there was one book, I think by the name of Jay Thunberg or something. It's like a classic book on, how to start a law firm. And it's probably, at this point, it's probably 30, 40 years old. They just didn't have the resources available to know how to run a business and to know how to run a law firm.
Right. Right. Okay. So those first few years, like a lot of ups and downs, I'm guessing, like, because, you're looking for business or how, like what, I mean, I know you had overflow from your friend, you said, or colleagues.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think as a law firm owner that does this kind of work, there's always going to be ups and downs. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. I mean, the first few years, everything felt like it was actually going up. I mean, there's always challenges, whether you're small or big, there's always challenges, I think, to get business in the door, and to retain it. But, but I wouldn't describe the first several years or first few years as ups and downs. I would just describe it as a grind, to really build something out. Again, if you don't know how to run a business, you don't know how to build a business, then you're kind of at a disadvantage. You have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, I look back at those years with a lot of fondness, a lot of pride. I mean, just because it's like you're developing, you're building something, for yourself. So it was an exciting time, but definitely a lot of long hours.
Yeah, I bet. So what was the moment? Like, was there a moment where you thought early on that, and you realized that the firm was going to work?
Um, I'm not sure that there was a moment, Benny. I mean, there were a lot of moments. There
Yeah.
was a lot of moments, but I think I was very, very fortunate. Some referral partners found me. Actually, I didn't find them; they found me, and then I was able to just. I think working with other business, firms that had a big marketing machine really gave me a lot of knowledge and insight in how I would do that myself. And then I was able to just start to see that there was an opportunity to scale. Like I didn't really understand that concept,
Hmm.
but I understood that there came a point where there was too much for me to handle on my own. And so then I hired another lawyer, and I could see where I was able to develop him and scale him. And then over time, I saw that there was an opportunity to do the same if I could generate my own, pipeline of business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and early on, you focused on serving underserved communities, especially Spanish-speaking ones. So, tell us a little bit about that, and like why was that so important to you?
Yeah, well, on a personal level, as I mentioned, I grew up in South Florida, right? So I was immersed in a Latino culture. I was immersed surrounded a lot of my closest friends, and not family, but all intents and purposes, like family, were Latinos, right? So and many of them were immigrants, and so I was already very, very comfortable as part of that community, and with those individuals, and just and so then roll the script forward. I was doing a lot of workers' comp work on behalf of the injured workers, and the Latinos do a tremendous amount of the heavy lifting, and really helping to build our country. They do a lot of the construction, a lot of the blue collar heavy labor type stuff, a lot in hospitality, retail, et cetera. And so I think that I realized that there was an opportunity to really make an impact. I saw that there were not a lot of firms and not a lot of lawyers serving that community, and those that were, it felt like very few of them were genuinely concerned about the well-being of the clients. I felt like some of them were really taking advantage of that community, and so I saw that there was an opportunity to make a difference, and I'll again make a difference with a community that felt like part of my upbringing and part of like my community.
Wow, that's great. And so your firm experienced rapid growth, but also a few, I guess, internal challenges. So, what did that period teach you about leadership and how you want to build the culture, the right culture for you?
Yeah. Well, by that period, you're referring to.
Like the when you were scaling, when you were growing. I know you're probably always growing, right? Like you're probably still.
Yeah. Look, I think uh, it's not so much that period, but when I look back at now, what is nearly 20 years,
Yeah.
and I think about leadership, I think some of the lessons I've learned are the importance of alignment. Right? I think alignment amongst your leadership team, alignment amongst your team overall is really, really essential to success. I think if you're misaligned, I mentioned this earlier when I did the insurance defense work, and I didn't really understand the concept or the significance. But in any kind of relationship, personal or professional, when there's misalignment, it really is going to create challenges for growth and for success. Whether it's personal or professional. It's just not going to feel good, and you're going to run into challenges. So I think that's a really big lesson that I've learned as a leader. I think you know not only having aligned talent, but also just having the right talent. I think you can go so much further with fewer A players than you can with more C players, right? So I think that, and that's been a hard lesson. I think that a lot of times when you start a business, you're afraid to make the investment into the top talent, not because you don't want the top talent, but because you're afraid, you can't afford it.
Right.
But the reality is you actually cannot afford not to make
Yeah.
those investments, and I think that's been a lesson as well.
Yeah, that's true. So how difficult is it balancing growth and maintaining quality? I mean, you just kind of spoke to it, having the right staff and like getting the A type of people instead of the C type of people. So is it like tough to find those people these days that are going to do that work? Like,
Yeah, I think it is. It's an incredibly competitive industry. It's getting more competitive every day. It's a very competitive market here in Atlanta. So yeah, I think it's extremely challenging for all of us to find
yeah,
talent. I mean, I'm friends and colleagues with, some firm owners and partners that work for some of the biggest firms in the country, and they've had to go out and bring people in from other states, to lead their organizations or to lead their departments. So I mean, I don't think I'm special or unique in that respect. It's just finding really, really top talent that is aligned with what you're trying to do is a challenge for sure.
This is one of the best curated events in the legal industry, run by Morgan & Morgan, some of the greatest speakers, literally opening the blueprint, telling you exactly how they've become the largest law firm in the country.
If you want to make moves, if you want to meet the best of the best, they're here at RevCon.
I think I took away probably about 10 nuggets that I'm going to bring back into my personal injury practice.
It's been very informative. I've already learned a couple of really good tricks and techniques.
The information that they shared was very insightful. I'm really excited about what Matt was talking about for future strategic initiatives that they have. I'm excited to see what they do.
Morgan always puts on the best events, top notch. We learned so much from their team, so many real action items that we can put into place.
Matt Morgan was the keynote. He was probably the best speaker and gave us really good business advice about our law firm.
This is my second RevCon that I've attended, and it just keeps getting better and better.
RevCon, the recovery revolution, will take place in New York City on September 29th. Visit Morgan and Morgan at forthepeople.com.
so tell us who is coming to your firm? Like who, meaning like the clients, potential clients, like who's coming, who's looking you up? You have a great website now. And like, are they injured people, workers' comp? Tell me who the ideal client is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ideal client is anyone who suffers an accident or an injury from a car accident, a truck accident, motorcycle, but essentially a motor vehicle accident. Somebody who's involved in a premises liability case or a products liability case, and then of course workers' compensation. So we don't, some firms are very niche and only take a certain threshold of case. Like if we feel that we can make an impact and help someone, we will handle the case big or small. We just make sure that the bigger, more complex cases get to the right person in the firm.
Okay. So what would you say for a PI attorney handling these cases, people at their worst, like they get into this accident, catastrophic accident, truck, car, whatever. What characteristics does it take, like, to be an attorney who can handle these type of cases?
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes several qualities and characteristics. Obviously, I think first of all you have to understand the law, right? So I mean, you have to understand the law, the leverage points, so that you can actually truly advocate for your client and build a case. But then I think that's the minimum, right? I think to really do great work, you have to be a very, very good communicator, both in terms of what you say, but also what you hear. And I think all too often, I don't think enough lawyers listen enough. And if you just take the time to listen, I think you'll learn a lot, both listening to clients, listening to your team members, and also listening to insurance companies and adjusters, defense attorneys, et cetera. So I think being a really good listener is essential, but I also think communicating well is essential. I think one thing that is sort of underrated is the importance of setting and maintaining expectations, right? I think that again, this is not so much being the great lawyer, what is it, attorney and counselor at law. Like I think the counseling part is a bit underrated, and I don't think people really appreciate the importance of, again, listening, speaking clearly, setting expectations, and then fulfilling those expectations. I think that a lot of the challenges that personal injury lawyers have is that they don't take the time to set the expectations up front. And so the client, who understandably doesn't really understand what's happening, is uncertain, is very afraid. They go through the process always a little bit anxious because the lawyer failed at the beginning to really take the time, not only at the beginning, but throughout the process, to set the expectation, to remind them of the expectation, and if necessary, to reset the expectation. So I think, again, really strong advocacy, knowledge of the law, great communicator. And then I think the other thing is just really being empathetic, genuinely empathetic. I think a lot of times for a lot of lawyers, I think this is very transactional work. And I don't think you can be a really great trial attorney, personal injury attorney, or workers' comp attorney if this is transactional. Like, this is a very relational business. You're talking to people and representing people in a very, very vulnerable time in their lives where they're under a lot of stress, a lot of fear. Most of them don't have a lot of, economic resources to fall back on. So it gets even harder. And so if you don't understand where they're at in their journey in life, and you don't care, it's very, very hard to build the rapport and the trust you need to really be an effective counselor and an effective advocate, because there will come a time in most of these cases where you're going to have, if not a tough conversation, a very real conversation with the client about what to do. And if you haven't built that rapport and that trust, which I think is sort of founded upon that empathy and that understanding, then it's really, really difficult to give your clients guidance and advise them in a proper way, because they may not believe you or trust you for all the reasons that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. Is this something you look for in your staff when you're hiring?
The short answer is yes, when we can. I think one of the challenges, again, this is not unique to me, but when you're scaling any kind of business and you're moving fast and you're in a market where it's tough to find talent, you sometimes have to compromise, right? But yeah, I think to the extent that we can find people that possess these types of qualities and these characteristics and these types of habits, yes, we do try to, certainly make an effort to bring them on. But like I said, sometimes you do have to compromise and hope that you're able to develop and train the person to kind of adopt those characteristics and habits.
Totally. So I've heard that you've recently gone through a major reset and rebuild. Is this correct? So,
sure. We call it a transformation, but sure.
Transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the firm look like today, and how does this transformation make it different than before?
Yeah. So let me see how I can describe it. I guess the best way to do it is just to kind of take you through the journey very, very succinctly. Sure. For about 10 years, we were kind of a boutique, small practice, got up to about 15 people. Actually, at one point, that's not true. When we started to kind of add on the personal injury practice, we grew to about 30 people, which was still, now looking back, relatively small, though I understand that it's not small. Certainly a lot bigger than, a few people, and certainly much bigger than when I started on my own.
Yeah, sure.
And then over the next several years, as we were getting to the marketing, we grew really, really fast, and really, really large. And in the process, there were, I think that the quality of service was impacted. I think that from a business standpoint, the profitability was very much impacted. And I think that, and so, those are, I think, the two areas that really just stand out. I could go into all kinds of detail, but I think that the firm was just not efficiently run. And so it was really not a sustainable business model the way it was designed. There wasn't really a sort of an integrated system to run the business using data.
Okay.
And so now we've really worked hard to create more order, more structure, more efficiency, and to really utilize the data to actually run the business, to set goals, to meet or exceed goals, and if necessary, if we're not hitting the goals, to adapt in, if not real time, relatively speaking, real time, so that you can make the adjustments necessary to really, be successful.
So, like, what kind of goals are those?
Well, I mean, financial goals
Fine.
to start with.
Yeah.
Obviously, and not just financial goals for the business itself, but I think also financial goals for the client, right? So setting a higher standard for what we're willing to accept. I
Gotcha.
think really working to build a more robust litigation practice. I think that was another area where I don't think we really were intentional enough. So I think a big part of what we're doing now through this transformation is to build out a more robust litigation practice, which I think is essential, not only to properly manage the bigger cases, but I think to make sure that the defense bar and the insurance companies understand that you are willing, to take cases to court to really maximize the cases.
Right.
So I think, I mean, when you say goals, I mean, there's financial goals, there's culture goals, there's practice goals, there's people goals, there's so I think really, I think, it's very easy it's not easy to have a big vision, but it's one thing to have a vision. It's another thing to truly execute. And I think what we're designing and what we've been designing is really something that can and will be executed versus, just having the vision, but never truly manifesting it to its full capacity. I think there were a lot of opportunities that we failed to capitalize on, at a really, really critical time. And so I think that the transformation is really just designed to build something that is much more is just much more structured and scalable. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So why would you say the client should come to you in Atlanta, or in Georgia, like, rather than another firm? Like, what are we doing different with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, a lot of what attorneys do in this practice is very similar. I think what separates the best attorneys and the best firms are the ones that do the kind of stuff that I was talking about earlier, which is to genuinely care about the client, to communicate with the client on a regular basis, to have high standards for the work that you're doing, and then again to maintain those and really work to maximize cases while also getting things done as quickly and efficiently as possible without compromising the quality of work. And I think we do a really good job of that. I think we also are able to represent people from different communities and to speak different languages. So, and there are other firms that do represent Latinos, but I think we've been doing it for a long time and doing it well. But it's not just Latinos. I mean, we represent anyone and everyone that needs our help, and I think we do a really good job of representing everybody. I think we're very, very fast to connect with potential clients that need our help. I think a lot of firms don't really have systems in place to really to move as quickly as necessary to really get the case opened. And I think we do a really nice job of mixing speed and value. And in the process, I think we do a really nice job with the client experience. Though it's always something that we're working on to improve. I mean, I think in today's world with the way that technology is changing, I think I think we look to leverage the technology in ways to actually further enhance the experience.
That was actually going to be my next question. If like part of your transformation was using different like AI systems and all the stuff that's out there now. I mean, like we did the ad read for CallRail. They're actually great. And like I did a CLE for case status, who we talked about communication with the client. I think that's like really important. So there's a lot of different things out there.
Yeah. I think we have adopted the case status platform.
Cool.
And I've been very pleased. It's still relatively new to our practice. I'm fairly close with most of the founders that are in the AI space, at least the ones that are, very present at most of the conferences. And they're all doing some incredible things. And we haven't settled in on one specific solution. We're exploring all of them, and we're working with some and testing some others. But yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid of artificial intelligence, but I think it's leveraged correctly, and not just AI, but just all the
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
I think if it's leveraged correctly, then I think it can only enhance the client experience, enhance the client results, enhance the lawyer slash legal professional experience, and
Mhm.
then ultimately, I guess, enhance the top and bottom line for the business owner.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I think you got to start. Firms have to do it to keep moving and to keep up with. I feel like everybody else. I feel like there's a lot of pressure with that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things out there in the space that.
Well, what's interesting is it's interesting. I think, um, you still hear people talk about, how employees are afraid AI might take their job. But I've actually started to hear the opposite now, which is if you don't have the tools, then people are going to leave and go work for firms and businesses that do have the tools, which makes sense
Yeah.
which makes sense because, I mean, most people, whether you work for a law firm or you don't, whether you're, actually, whether you're employed or not, most people
Right.
are using artificial intelligence to enhance their own personal lives, and so to not make it available and accessible to employees and lawyers to enhance their experience and make their experience not only more efficient but also to help them be more successful, I think you run the risk of losing really, really talented people. So
I agree.
I think we're working to find those solutions, for that very reason. Is we want to do better work, we want to do it more efficiently, and we want to get the clients the best outcome possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So just going back to the client, like what do you think some of the misconceptions, the biggest misconceptions people have after they get injured are?
Hmm. I think first misconception is that it costs a lot of money to
Right.
hire a lawyer. I mean, it's for those of us that are in the industry, it's so common, no fee unless you win, or contingency fee. But I don't think, despite all of the marketing and education that's been out there for decades, I think a lot of people still don't understand that you don't have to um, pay an attorney to represent you, at least not out of pocket, and you never really have any out of pocket exposure or
Right.
expense. So I think that's one misconception. I think another misconception is that hiring a lawyer to pursue a personal injury or workers' comp claim is sort of not dirty, but it's like a bad thing. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
I can't believe, as if you're going to be judged because or you're going to judge yourself because you're, seeking representation. I think that
Right.
that's a huge misconception. Other misconceptions that people have, there's a lot of misconceptions. I think that there's a misconception that, that you can get the same result on your own. And I think that in some cases, if you're savvy and if you know how to navigate the system, yes, you can. In some cases, you can get an equally good result, particularly if the insurance policy is low. But I think in most cases, if you have a true attorney who knows what they're doing, you're not only going to get a better outcome, but the experience is going to be a lot better, because dealing with insurance companies and defense attorneys is not fun for us, but we do it for a living. It's definitely not fun for the everyday person who has a job, and in most cases has kids and responsibilities. And so I think to have somebody take that off your back and help you is really of tremendous value in and of itself.
Yeah. I like that. Um, so you've published, I noticed on the website, distracted driving research and public safety info. Why do you invest like that kind of time in public education? It was really good info on your website. I encourage everybody to look at the blogs and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an advocate for consumers, and in this case for people that have been injured, I think we have a responsibility to educate people and give them information that they can utilize on their own,
Yeah.
with or without our representation. And I think that's the most important thing. I think we have a responsibility to educate. As I told you earlier, even when you represent somebody, a big part of it is setting expectations.
Mm.
And I guess sort of underlying that is the importance of education. Like, you've got to educate your client. And I think that from a marketing standpoint, I think showing and adding value to prospective clients is really important, rather than just saying, we can help. But I think it's important we have a responsibility to show how we can help and to add value, regardless of whether the person hires us or not.
Yeah. Okay. So, Seth, looking back, like, how has your definition of success changed? Like, from when you started, maybe, to like where you are now?
I think when I started, my definition of success was a little bit more, I don't want to say self-centered, but I think it was only me, right? Like I wasn't thinking about 150 employees. I wasn't thinking about thousands of clients. I was thinking really about, really two things. One was me being a successful lawyer and business owner. And then the other was really helping people and like truly making an impact in their lives. I told you earlier, I saw a lot of what I would call maybe not misrepresentation, but substandard, right? By my definition, representation for people. So I think at the time, what success looked like was really doing great work for the clients. And then of course, being successful on my own, which I think is a byproduct. If you just focus on the clients and do really good quality work, it's inevitable that you will be successful, both professionally and financially. But I think over time, as you grow, you realize that being successful isn't just about you. It's not just about your clients. It's about your entire team, your leadership team, your non-leadership team, your lawyers, your non-lawyers, your US-based team members, your foreign-based team members. And then, of course, you have thousands of clients. And I think that, and I can't personally represent every single one of them. So sure. I think what success is a lot larger. It's a lot broader. And I think it encompasses, everybody who's impacted by the work that the firm does, both internally and externally.
Yeah. Wow. It's awesome. So what do you hope people ultimately say about Bader Law and the impact your team has made?
Yeah. I hope that they say that Bader Law genuinely cares about its clients, genuinely cares about the communities that it represents and that it serves, and that we do really, really high quality work. Yeah. I hope that our clients say that, and that they share that sentiment in their reviews. And I think within the industry, I hope that our peers, both on the plaintiff side and our adversaries on the defense side, respect the work that we do, and that we have a really strong reputation.
Awesome. Seth, is there anything else we left out today that you want to cover?
Not necessarily. Whatever you want to cover. I could talk about anything and everything about, running a practice and building a practice, marketing, but there's not necessarily anything that comes to my mind. I have a lot of friends and colleagues in the industry around the country. I participate in masterminds. I love exchanging ideas. I love exchanging ideas. If any of your guests, want to exchange ideas or share ideas, I'm totally open to doing that. And certainly, if there's any other attorneys that are looking for referral partners in Atlanta or Georgia, we're here. We'd love to partner. We have a lot of referral partnerships around the country where we send business to them and they send business to us. That's it.
That's awesome. And you're definitely true entrepreneur, right? You got that entrepreneur bug. You built the business. Congratulations on your success, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Stay right there. Seth Bader, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.
Thank you.